Part 365. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu. Chapter 3641. Seeing the hundreds of scouts rushing back and gradually disappearing, Fang Fan stepped forward again, ready to investigate. This wave looks perfect. Boy Fang Fan, this doesn't look like you. According to your temperament in the past, these people will definitely be killed. Why are you still doing this now? Why is your heart still soft now? Bai Piao blinked, raised his eyebrows, and then said with emotion from the side. Anyway, this wave seems quite curious. While speaking, his eyes kept looking back and forth. It's not a matter of being soft or not. Mainly these people are a group of pawns. It doesn't make much sense to deal with them. As long as the rhythm can be grasped well. Besides, they have gone back, so they can discuss that Lord Wang saint. This Saint Wang targeted me somehow. It's not good stubble. I really have to deal with it in the future. Fang Fan narrowed his eyes, and a fierce light gradually flickered in them. Marching all the way, gradually approaching the Protoss camp. There are naturally many guard posts around. Satan led the god-killing demon army, walking silently in the darkness. Then, one after another, the sentinels of the Protoss were silently wiped out through spiritual power. It has to be said that the characteristics of the God Slaughter Devil Legion make them have good qualifications to become scouts. My lord, the front is basically swept away. But these guard posts are basically changed every half an hour. After half an hour at most, they will notice something is wrong. Satan walked over without a sound and then said in a low voice. Fang Fan boy, you don't want to use the previous routine again, do you? Enter the camp of the Protoss army, and start slaughtering the camp. Kill one camp after another. And then hide in your little world. Bai Piao's eyes brightened. Previously under the god city of the Seven Courts, Fang Fan used this method to harvest the heads of many Protoss cultivators and seized a large number of Protoss storage rings. There are quite a lot of god stone fragments. At that time, it was under such circumstances that a batch of god stone fragments and star cores were searched, which made Fang Fan's subordinates promoted to the second low-level Holy Level Legion. While talking, Bai Piao couldn't help showing a look of anticipation on his face. Sounds like a good idea if you can keep doing it. It's interesting anyway. Progress slowly, fight in an all-round way. It's this way of thinking, but it's not this way of thinking. Fang Fan shrugged his shoulders, and then sold off. Bai Piao. What the hell? I really don't understand. What is this gaudy thing expressing? Put on the clothes of the Protoss soldiers. Enter the Protoss camp, don't speak, because you don't know the Protoss language, and you will be exposed at that time. Just follow my orders. Remember. Remember. Don't be reckless. Be sure to shut up. When there is a little movement in the Protoss camp, we will evacuate quickly. After they mess themselves up, it will be much easier for us to go through this area. Otherwise, it would be too obvious to go deep alone. Fang Fan narrowed his eyes, and when he spoke, the eyes sparkled. Thousands of thoughts, ideas rise. Invisibly, there is a strong sense of stimulation. How to act next depends on the overall development in the future. What is this for? What an unnecessary move. As for what? It would be better to slaughter a few more Protoss cultivators. Bai Piao didn't bother to use his brain to think too much, he couldn't help complaining while talking at the moment. From his point of view, I feel that these are all fancy things, and I shouldn't think too much about it. Husband, do you want to make a fuss? Chu Sisi raised her eyebrows slightly, and then asked. Fang Fan silently nodded. I said it just now, it's too obvious to directly insert the words in the past. The chances of exposure like this are too great. At the moment, I can only choose another way, and quietly slipped past. But it would be even better if we could make some more noise. In this way, we can achieve a combination of movement and stillness. Have you changed your clothes yet? Let's go. Fang Fan squinted his eyes, full of thoughts, and the brilliance in his eyes flickered all over. This is an army of nearly 1,000,000 gods. Compared with the 40,000 to 50,000 Protoss army before, the gap has come, and the 40,000 to 50,000 Protoss army is a hammer, completely dwarfed by. If you act here, you need to be more careful. There can't be any sloppiness. One wave ruins everything. Tighten your whole body and mind to stabilize the overall situation. Thousands of thoughts, flickering eyes. For a moment, the expression changes are particularly real. Only by fully grasping can there be hope. Otherwise, it will only follow Liangbo. There is no doubt about this. Don't wonder. In the barracks of the Protoss, encountering the patrols of the Protoss is simply not normal. Password. Protoss. Fang Fan looked at the Protoss patrol in front of him solemnly, and then said indifferently. Luck is prosperous. Shenzhou language. The Protoss patrol officer on the opposite side replied. This wave is completely fine. Once you get the password, just follow along slowly. The next thing, next to deal with. Fang Fan found a relatively remote camp and started to work. Generally, the tents of the Protoss are filled with a squadron of 100 Protoss soldiers. After entering, the top 10 legions and 6 heroes were fully mobilized, and they were directly in place every minute. With the improvement of Fang Fan's cultivation base, the bottleneck of the 6 heroes was also broken, and now they all exist in the 8-star peak sanctuary realm. Although it is not yet a holy state, but there is only a thin line between them. In addition, among the top 10 legions, 2 legions are in the low-level saint realm, and the others are also in the 8-star peak sanctuary realm. In terms of average combat power, it naturally crushes an ordinary Protoss squadron. It's not a big deal to kill them instantly. The strongest squadron leader of the Protoss is the middle-level Saint Venerable realm. It is not a big problem for Chu Ceci, who is a high-ranking saint, to kill him by surprise. 7 or 8 camps were slaughtered one after another. Killed nearly 1,000 gods. For a time, the risk factor was in place. Bai Piao kept picking up the storage ring from behind, and the smile on his face has never disappeared since then. Looking at these storage rings, I feel particularly refreshed and happy in my heart. The whole person is extremely relaxed. All of a sudden, he was extremely exhilarated. Keep going. It's so cool. Why? Feeling up again. I enjoyed it so much. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 3642. While talking, Bai Piao nodded frequently, and the gleam in his eyes became more and more intense. Thousands of thoughts, ideas take off. Etc. About there. Get ready, stay away from here. Then find an opportunity to wait silently. Don't do it again. Get away from here. Fang Fan said coldly. While speaking, he immediately began to look for a way out. This is leaving. It's a pity, isn't it? Boy Fang Fan, don't be so nervous. Why don't we still play again? Why? I always feel like I'm doing nothing. Bai Piao is mainly reluctant to part with the storage rings of the Protoss. But don't look at what's going on right now. Picking sesame seeds and losing watermelon, this kind of behavior is unacceptable. If you don't leave now, it will be too late if you want to leave later. The road is basically blocked. Be careful. There are millions of Protoss troops here. Relying on us to kill like this, we can't hurt them at all. On the contrary, it would be bad if it made them feel vigilant. Whether the situation can be brought under control at that time will have to be discussed. Our purpose of coming here at the beginning is also very simple. In fact, to put it bluntly, we want to make some noise, and then we can pretend to attack others. Now that the goal is achieved, it doesn't matter. Fang Fan narrowed his eyes, raised the corners of his mouth slightly, and was full of thoughts at the moment. All kinds of ideas in my heart gathered together and gradually became real. At this moment, there are countless Protoss troops in the surrounding area. An enemy is coming in. Protoss. Our people were all killed. Martial law. Total martial law. The enemy must not be allowed to escape. Be fully prepared. A thorough investigation. A thorough investigation ahead. Not long after Fang Fan and the others left the place, the Protoss patrol over there had already discovered the bodies of the Protoss soldiers in various camps. This wave of card positions is very good first. All aspects have been fully stabilized. Situation, all-round control. As for the remaining ones, there is no need to worry about them. Steady, take control of the situation, that's all. The timing is just right. Shift a little more time. Accidents can happen. Fang Fan nodded a little hungry, feeling silently in his heart. Good guy. This. Did they come so fast? Fang Fan boy, your control ability is good. Fortunately, I listened to you back then, and I wasn't reckless. Otherwise, it is very likely that he will be caught now. At that time, even if we can hide in the small world, the danger has never disappeared. Now it seems quite frightening. Bai Piao raised his head and took a look. While speaking, he couldn't help letting out a mouthful of foul breath, and the panic expression on his face was beyond words. While speaking at this moment, his eyes fluttered all over. At present, countless Protoss cultivators rushed towards the scene of the incident, and the scene seemed very chaotic. In this chaotic situation, it was easier for Fang Fan and others to slip away. It's just that Bai Piao's mouth keeps chattering endlessly. There's a lot of bells and whistles. What the hell, I need a hammer. Wouldn't it be better to follow along a little more steadily? Shut up. You don't know Protoss, and it will be over if something happens. Fang Fan glared at Bai Piao, implying that he should not be promiscuous. Now at this time, one wave ruins everything. There are many crises. A little carelessness, a complete collapse. Only by holding on can you hold on to everything. This wave should not be easily slackened. Ah. Yes. I shut up right away. Cough. I just didn't expect so much. Careless. It almost happened. Bai Piao nodded hastily, this time he didn't continue to chatter. Probably because of what happened before, Bai Piao still has a lot of respect for Fang Fan at this moment. Stop. Protoss. Suddenly, a Protoss officer strode over, his sharp eyes fixed on Fang Fan. What's wrong? Fang Fan showed a calm face, and then began to communicate in the Protoss language. This wave doesn't seem quite right. Fang Fan is the only one who can speak Protoss. So they can't stand the investigation. Password. Luck is prosperous. Anyway, it's okay to just talk about it a few times. Between each other, the eyes flicker, it is very real. The Protoss officer on the opposite side nodded expressionlessly. Immediately, a pair of eyes glanced behind Fang Fan. Then a sullen look appeared on his face. Bastard. Protoss. Get out. Who made you wear so many storage rings? Asshole. Keep it. The Protoss officer looked at Bai Piao angrily, and when he spoke, his gnashing of teeth was fully displayed. Anyway, what is shown is such an attitude, true and clear. Bai Piao blinked, he didn't understand. Now I can only look at it numbly. he really wanted to ask you what the you were talking about. There's a lot of bells and whistles. The skull is about to explode. Asshole. Talk to you. How dare you ignore me? Asshole. The Protoss officer was strangely sullen at the moment, and while speaking, he was about to pull out the soft whip that he carried with him to whip him. The gesture is displayed, the gaze is concentrated. Bai Biao obviously couldn't hold it anymore. Almost spit out. If you really spit it out, it's really useless. This wave gritted his teeth, unable to say anything. My mind is full of thoughts, and my expression becomes numb in silence. It seems that this is the attitude. If Bai Biao spoke, then all the previous efforts would be in vain. At that time, it will be blocked in all directions. Then the situation will really be out of control. All of a sudden, my thoughts exploded. Hurry up and put away the storage ring. Protoss language. Snapped. Fang Fan stepped forward, first reprimanded Bai Biao in the language of the Protoss, and then slapped Bai Biao on the face with a big mouth, followed by pressing directly on his body, pressing Bai Biao on the ground to beat him. At the same time, I took the opportunity to whisper. Take back the storage ring. Fang Fan felt extremely numb at the moment. There's a lot of bells and whistles. Continuously, I want to follow along and do things. I don't seem to be very happy when I don't do things. If you continue to do this, sooner or later your mentality will collapse on the spot. This situation is a bit dizzying. For a moment, his complexion changed drastically, and his mind was concentrating. Bai Biao was also shocked at this moment. This is not the time to be naughty. If you are a little careless, you will really die. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 3643. Woo 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 woo. Ah. Bai Biao began to moan and chirp a few times, then hurriedly put away the storage ring. Sorry, his tongue isn't very good lately. It disturbed the adults. We still have to go on a mission, so. Fang Fan began to fool around with the divine language. Task. What mission? Do you want the front line to attack in an all-round way? Why haven't I received any information? The Protoss officer's eyes lit up, and as he spoke, he gradually became more interested. It's just that this is naturally not something that can be said casually. If you are a little careless, you will be involved too much. This. Does your lord have any special secret orders? According to the mission's confidentiality requirements, a special secret order must be required to disclose. So. Fang Fan smiled silently, then glanced around several times. Just kidding, it's like who doesn't know how to do this stuff. You can pull whatever you want. As long as you are smart enough. The Protoss officer opened his mouth, and then a resentful expression appeared on his face. Then, let's forget it. Hurry up and finish the task. The Protoss officer was relieved as he spoke. Fang Fan and the others continued to intersperse among the chaotic crowd. This wave is indeed thrilling enough. The risk factor is being fully superimposed. Unable to stabilize in one wave, the whole line collapsed. Boy Fang Fan. It scared me to death just now. I am CAO. Why is this Protoss person so curious? Bastard, why does he insist on following me? Could it be that the unique aura on my body was discovered by him? Damn. Bai Biao couldn't help cursing at the side. At the moment, the desire to complain is very strong. Pay attention to your image. What happened just now? Didn't you have any points in your heart? Calm yourself. There are so many storage rings hanging on my hands. It's just that I don't have the label of being a local tyrant on my body. How could a normal sergeant be like you? Walking around here, the most important criterion is actually to defend yourself. Don't mess with those moths. A little carelessness, too much involved. Fang Fan breathed out a turbid breath. While speaking, his eyes flickered silently, all kinds of thoughts gathered in his heart. His thoughts were full of thoughts, and his expression changed unpredictably. Behind the scenes, the chaotic scenes of the Protoss are still vivid in my mind. I don't know if the chaos of the Protoss army can trigger the Protoss city to rush to help. The goal of Fang Fan's trip is naturally not to investigate the intelligence of the God Race army. What he really cares about is the Protoss city behind him. After detailed investigation before, he also gradually learned some information. For example, the closest Protoss city is Tianlin City. These nearly 1 million troops were dispatched from Tianlin City. In the realm of the Protoss, there are still many cities like Tianlin City. For a while, there was a strong sense of oppression, which made it difficult to breathe. One Protoss city can send nearly 1 million elite. And a city like Tianlin City is not the only one among the Protoss. How strong is the power of the Protoss? A Tianlin City requires the entire light camp, the dark camp and the neutral camp to fully unite to fight against. In this way, the overall combat power of the Protoss. These all have to be considered. Now it seems that there is still too little understanding of the Protoss. It can even be said that this is not an understanding at all. Fang Fan shook his head. He was full of thoughts and ideas, and everything was showing the most real appearance. At this moment, because about 10 soldiers of the Protoss were slaughtered, a big wave was triggered. According to the normal system, a squadron of 100 God Clan soldiers lived in a military tent. 10 military tents are 1,000 people. Compared with the nearly 1 million Protoss army, it seems nothing, and I don't care much when I look at it. But this was killed in the encirclement of the Protoss army. This is a great shame. For a moment, the mind exploded. Thoughts surged, brains trembled, let alone talk to someone. For a while, the bigwigs of the Protoss couldn't help but gather here. Now everyone is recharging their energy and recharging their batteries. To put it bluntly, they all seem to be relatively idle. When you are free and encounter something, don't you have to come and check it? This is simply a stroke of genius. What about people? Why is there no one? Yeah, it was like this when I came here, and I don't know who is screaming. Could it be that this is a vendetta? Which God General is fighting? Heh. Do you think this is possible? It won't be this, there must be something tricky in it. It must be the hands of the enemies on the opposite side. Maybe they sent a demigod to sneak over. Hiss, we have to be prepared, don't wander around. Hold on, hold on. Gudong, a little frightened and uneasy. Maybe the killer is hiding among us, and it's not impossible. Huh? The person on the opposite side doesn't know our Protoss language, please check it out. It's a mess, who knows what's going on? Steady, really must be steady, don't have the slightest wandering. Gucha, the Gucha God General is here, the Gucha God General is a first-class God General, and he will definitely be able to destroy everything. SHH, don't say too much, hold on. In the distance, an old man with a frown, a serious face, and a firm look came over. As he walked, there was a rustle of wind around him, and for a while, those Protoss people avoided him one after another. Among the Protoss, there is a strict hierarchy, so naturally one cannot casually mess up one's sense of propriety. This wave, of course, must be fully controlled. In terms of situation, we need to be more rigorous. What's going on? How did they die? Who was the first to discover it? The voice of Gushat, the first-class God General of the Protoss, was not loud, but he had a strong sense of majesty. For a moment, the torrential oppressive force was released, making others dare not look at him at all. At this moment, he could only shrink his neck, trembling to express his fear and uneasiness. God, Master God General. I originally wanted to come and play with my brother. As soon as I entered the army tent, I saw that they all died there. I don't know, I really don't know what happened. Later, it was discovered that all the 10 military tents around here had been slaughtered. Also ask the God General to be the master. Boom. Bang bang bang. The Protoss soldier who was speaking blushed while speaking. This time, while talking, his eyes gradually fluttered, his body curled up, and he trembled endlessly. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 3644. This wave was indeed frightened. So, you don't know anything. It's a mess, what a shame. Can you find the enemy if you keep messing up like this? Give me silence. Who is the leader of the team, Mr. Wan? The first-class god of the Protoss yelled at Gusha directly, and then swept his sharp eyes around. His complexion became more and more ugly at this moment. There are many thoughts, and the fierce light is in the eyes. I am me. My lord. I just found out about the situation here. There's never been anything wrong before. This time I really don't know what happened, how it evolved to this point. My lord, I hope you can give us justice. My brothers in the 280,000 team can't die with peace. While talking, Captain 1 of the 280,000 man team of the Protoss gradually turned red, and the more he talked, the more excited he became, and he gradually fell into it and couldn't extricate himself. Now you must look at yourself a little bit more bleakly. In this case, it is easy to shirk responsibility. His team of 10,000 people was silently killed 1,000 people. In any case, he, Mr. Wan, cannot escape the blame. If Gusha, the first-class god general of the Protoss, wanted to target him, he could be killed directly. At this moment, there is more or less panic in my heart. Because now is the time to control the present even more. Can't wave, one wave destroys everything. Oh. Give you some justice. Then who will give me justice? What you said is quite interesting. Snort. Things that don't know how to live or die. Something happened to your 10,000 man team. You, the 10,000 man commander, don't go to scout the enemy, but you are here to play tricks. Shameless you. How can there be a shameless person like you in my Protoss army? Roll. Gusha, the first-class god general of the Protoss, kicked the 280,000 strong team leader of the Protoss away. It is annoying to see it at the moment, and there is an action right away. The most important thing at this moment is not the lesson. The most important thing is to open up the current situation. Gusha, the first-class god general of the Protoss, felt a headache for no reason. There's a lot of bells and whistles. Mess. Now it's starting to get stuck. Everyone be quiet. Talk to each other in an orderly manner. If anyone keeps silent or makes some strange noises and weird movements, they will be killed on the spot. Anyone who successfully cuts off the head of an enemy spy will receive 100 fragments of the God Stone. Promoted to 3 ranks. The first-class god of the Protoss squinted Gusha's eyes, and then activated the relevant principles. After all, the current Protoss language has not communicated with each other. The enemies on the opposite side don't know the language of the Protoss at all. Only by relying on this method can potential enemies be found out. The first-class gods of the Protoss swept the ancient temple around. If someone fled towards the surroundings in a hurry at this time, it must be a problem. It's a pity that there seems to be no special discovery so far. It became a pot of porridge underneath, everyone was talking. At the moment, there are gradually some uncomfortable voices. All of a sudden, my mind is full of thoughts, and I am constantly reasoning and chaotic. Gradually, killings also appeared in the crowd. Quite a few people were directly shot and killed without any hesitation at all. Go up and do it. For example, I said a few words to you, but you didn't respond within a few seconds, so I stabbed you directly. Or if you have a bad voice and can't speak, you will also be stabbed. Or maybe you are a dumb person and want to be stabbed. Anyway, stabbing a knife is popular now. If you don't want to be stabbed, you have to start howling continuously, howling crazily in the language of the Protoss. The current state is displayed in all aspects, and for a while, people feel the ultimate tingling in the depths of the soul. There were hundreds of corpses lying on the ground, but after a comprehensive inspection, there was not a single foreigner. This, all messed up, all killed by mistake. The face of Gushat, the first-class god of the Protoss, was extremely gloomy. Doesn't this show in disguise that his strategy has failed? What do you mean? Does this mean to slap him in the face crazily? At this moment, for no reason, he felt that his face was being beaten. At this moment, there are a lot of thoughts, and when I want to say something, many words become silent in an instant. It just, gradually became numb. Nothing. This, can also say a hammer. Continuing to chatter will only bring endless troubles. Brain hurts. Thoughts are a bit complicated. Although these corpses were killed by mistake. But it's true that the accent of foreigners has not been checked. So, the ones who came to attack this time weren't those enemies from other races at all. Could it be that we are fighting among ourselves? Who wants to be so cruel to them? It can't be justified, it can't be justified. If it's just a soldier in the army tent, it's fine, it may still be a vendetta. But all the soldiers in the 10 tents were killed. No. Not right. I must be missing something. I didn't notice. Call. Yes, absolutely. I really can't think too much now. It's getting more and more chaotic. The first-class god of the Protoss, Jongusa, frowned more and more. The more I think about it, the more irritable I feel. What a mess, what a mess. I'm almost throwing up. Die before leaving school. The Protoss army was gathered here just now, ready for a big battle. Do this for me? The loss of 1,000 soldiers is nothing. But now that people are panicking, and the morale is greatly frustrated is the biggest loss. So, it is really impossible to continue wandering. The 1,000 people just happen to belong to the 280,000 team. Gushat, the first-class god of the Protoss, squinted his eyes, and then looked at the captain of the 280,000 man team. Gudong. The head of the Protoss 280,000 team had a bitter expression on his face. Damn it! What is this all about? As for this, pulling back and forth, the brain is about to split open. Don't look for me. This shit, I know a hammer. Difficult to go to the blue sky. How did this unlucky thing happen to him? Why don't those damned bastards go to the other 10,000 teams to make troubles, and insist on making things difficult for him? The head of the 280,000 man team of the Protoss was staring at Gushat, the first-class god general of the Protoss, but he could only walk over twitchingly, and then looked at all this with a numb face. Other than that, there seems to be nothing else to do. This wave is indeed a bit difficult. A myriad of thoughts, distracted. Now he just wants this shit to end quickly. He can't stand it if it doesn't end. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shuyu. Chapter 3645. Among these armies, have you offended anyone? Otherwise, there's no need for them to frame you in this way. Think about it for me. That bloody feud. Gushat, the first-class god of the Protoss, licked his lips. He was full of thoughts at the moment, and the more he thought about it, the more his brain trembled. Gradually, the whole person became smug. For Gushat, the first-class god general of the Protoss, it seems that there is only one possibility left. Other possibilities have long been completely terminated. That's right. That's it. Easy to understand. This. I don't have. I haven't done anything. I've always been so obsessed. How could there be such a blood feud in the army? Impossible. Think too much. This has nothing to do with me. My lord, even if you don't like me, you can't harm me. I'm so unlucky. Why did this shit happen to me? I can't wash it off now. Why? The head of the Protoss 280,000 team couldn't help but began to sigh at this moment. What the hell are you trying to do with this mess? He slept soundly at first. Why should he be subjected to such an indiscriminate disaster? This wave directly followed the complete numbness. Want to say something, many words but cannot come out. Uncomfortable, it's really uncomfortable. A wave took off directly. If it wasn't you, who would it be? Why is nothing wrong with others, but something happens to you? Flies don't bite seamless eggs. Snort. Gushat, the first-class god of the Protoss, snorted coldly, and immediately prepared to shirk all responsibility. Anyway, at this time, there is always a need for a scapegoat. The guy in front of him was just right. In order to maintain stability and control the morale of the army, Gucha can only take a slant. Etc. Lord Gussa. This is the group of bastards appearing again. I know who it is. It's him. It's him. It must be him. That's right. Absolutely right. I won't admit my mistake. In the crowd, there was a sudden burst of excited shouts, and then the crowd gradually became noisy. A middle-aged man in blood-colored mottled armor came forward excitedly, talking and yelling crazily. At this moment, his face gradually became flushed, and his breathing gradually became rapid. This wave is stable. Absolutely. Who are you? Gushat, the first-class god of the Protoss, frowned, and had no impression of this guy in front of him. Master Gushat, I am Talha, and I am the third-class general under the command of General Allen. Just returned from defeat. The reason why we were defeated was because of this guy. To be precise, it should be a group of people. Call. This group of people can disappear in place anytime, anywhere. Then you can't find it no matter how hard you look. When you don't pay much attention to him, this guy will appear quietly again. It's like a ghost, it makes people feel physically and mentally shaken. At that time, I can't bear it at all. Too crazy. The picture was torn apart. Extremely terrified. General Allen was deceived by that group of people, and he never came back after that. If it wasn't for these people, we would never have suffered such a failure. Now I see that the situation is exactly the same as what we faced before, so, that's why I feel that there must be fraud in it. There is a problem. There must be a problem. Master Gukka God General, don't be careless. It's best to seal off this area, and then send heavy troops to guard it strictly. In this way, when these mysterious people show up, kill them directly without any hesitation. I have seen their escape methods before. It's terrible, it's really too scary. That's not an ordinary person at all. Gudong. Talha, the third-rank god general of the Protoss, stepped forward excitedly. The more I talked, the more excited I became, and the more I talked, the clearer my thinking became. At this moment, I was gnashing my teeth, and my posture was extremely surging. Of course there is no need to say more about the other ones, the mentality can't be stretched, everything is useless. Crazy words, obliterate everything. It's that crazy. He is the survivor of that decisive battle. At the last moment, he was going to fight to the death, but in the end he was dragged away by Lugas, another third-class god of the Protoss, and then saved his life. After returning, it was naturally regarded as a defeated army and incorporated into the main force. Since returning, Talha's spirit has been very sluggish, and he feels that there is no point in doing anything, and there is an extreme sense of fraternity in his heart. With a lot of thoughts and calm eyes, the whole person was directly numb from the blow. When I saw such a situation at this moment, I suddenly woke up. Then the seed of hatred deep in my heart completely began to grow. If the humiliation is not reported, what meaning does he have? For Talha, the mainstay of being alive now is revenge. That battle was miserable, how can it be called miserable? Can't recall at this moment, all memories are all those messy bloody scenes. He has never fought such a useless battle. Facing Talha's excited speech at this moment, the first-class god of the Protoss beside him frowned more and more. There are so many things going on here? Are those foreigners really so strong? Why does it sound so mysterious? The sense of bells and whistles is being strengthened in an all-round way. Aliens who can disappear anytime and anywhere? In this way, wouldn't it be possible to launch an attack when you want to launch an attack? And this good thing? And you still don't realize its existence. This sounds so amazing. Gushat, the first-class god of the Protoss, looked at Talha suspiciously. Could this guy have lost his mind? Did you have some kind of war syndrome? Or did you hurt your brain during the fight? Otherwise, how could you say such nonsense? You can explain it clearly yourself, are these things you imagined? These are all scenes that appeared in your dreams, and because you couldn't control yourself, you said them all, and you thought they were real. Is this the case? Think about it yourself. Gushat, the first-class god of the Protoss, smiled contemptuously, and obviously didn't believe it. Ah! What? The third-rank god General Talha wiped the coagulated blood on his body, feeling the bloody smell coming from the corner of his mouth. He was a little dazed for a while. What the hell did I say so vigorously and solemnly, and it turned into a frenzied fantasy in your mouth? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shuyu. Chapter 3646. I really hope it's just speculation. But is this possible? Since that battle, I haven't closed my eyes. What kind of imagination is there? God of the ancient temple. I can take responsibility for my own words and deeds. Really? These are all true. Call. Why don't you believe it? I'm willing to guarantee it with my life. Yes. My partner Rugas, he also knows the specific situation. My lord, the ancient temple saint, I have already talked to this point. Why are you still skeptical? Why should I lie to you? Do you still have a self-decision to be a commander? Talha was in a hurry for a moment, and couldn't help but started to complain crazily. Grass. What are these things? I can't even speak clearly. At this moment, the more I look at it, the more annoying it is, and I feel a sense of resentment in my heart. Completely aphasia for a while. Master Guka God General, I can also vouch for it. Although this matter is very mysterious, it is indeed what we saw with our own eyes. That group of foreigners can disappear at will in this space, and then reappear at will. That state is extremely wonderful. Call. Gudong. At that time, Master Allen wanted to pursue them, and then followed them into that different space, and never came out again. I can't see anyone alive, I can't see a dead body, I don't know what happened. Anyway, it seems particularly frightening. Master Guka God General, you must be more careful. A little carelessness may involve a lot. Lugas, the third-class God General of the Protoss who was brought back together with Talha, smiled wryly, and then stepped forward to prove Talha's words. The existence of that group of people has become their nightmare. Thinking of this at this moment, my heart is trembling all over. The more you think about it, the more confused your thinking becomes. Could it be, there really are such people? Disappear at will, appear at will. Different space. Where did they disappear to? Could it be possible to enter this space? The law of space that controls this world. This kind of existence is absolutely impossible to be an ordinary person. Could this person be the existence of the supreme demigod realm? It's only one step away from becoming a false god. If you really become a false god, then you have a great chance to become a true god. Is it possible that there really is such a powerful person among this group of foreigners? Call. If this is the case, we are in danger. The first-class god of the Protoss shook his head, Gushat, with a solemn expression on his face at this moment. At present, it is not a matter of stabilizing the morale of the army, but a matter of whether they can escape this catastrophe. Forward. Master Guka God General, you may be thinking too much. As far as I know, among the group of mysterious people, there seem to be few who even exist in the Saint Venerable realm. Most of them are ordinary sanctuary realms. The cultivation of the leader is even more rubbish. It's definitely not the Holy One. Let's say it's a demigod, even if it's a quasi-demigod, we haven't discovered it. If not, wouldn't we be unable to come back long ago? I can guarantee this. Talha nodded, deeply convinced. Things have to be clarified. That's weird. According to what you said, there must be tricks in it. There is not even a quasi-demigod, how can we kill General Allen, how can we do these things? Who would believe what you said? Do you really think that this god will be so easy to deceive? A cold snort came, Gushat, the first-class god of the Protoss, frowned, his eyes gradually became colder at this moment. From his point of view, he just felt that there was something wrong with it. And it's a big problem. Master Guka God General. It's all from my own experience. If you don't believe me, I can't help it. All in all, this is a group of very strange existences. I hope that Lord Gusa God General can think about it carefully. After all, I don't need to lie about this matter. That's all for now, that's all. Master Gusa God General, let's get a good understanding of it. Anyway, I'm telling the truth. I have a sworn feud with those foreigners. Revenge. There must be revenge. The cold shouts followed, and Talha's eyes gradually turned blood red. At this moment, all kinds of thoughts in his heart were fully gathered, and his heart had already swelled violently. The more I think about it, the more my brain hurts, the more I think about it, the uglier my face becomes, and my thoughts sweep across the scene. In just a split second, the whole person seemed to be fascinated by it instantly. Needless to say about other things for the time being, this time the posture is in place, it is so real. Gushat, the first-class god general of the Protoss, was a little uncertain for a while. Although he is not familiar with Talha and Rugas, they are also two third-class god generals of the Protoss, and both of them are quasi-demigod existences. These two people are not so boring as to talk about this matter, right? There is a high probability that such boring and meaningless things will not be done. If so, doesn't that mean it's all true? After a lot of thinking, his gaze gradually became deeper and deeper. As big as world, nothing is non-existent. It seems that we really can't underestimate these foreigners. Since the two of you have fought against those mysterious people before, this time I will leave it to you to fully deal with it. Be sure to catch those mysterious people. Humph. How dare you be so arrogant in my God Clan army? Simply overwhelmed. Strange power and chaos. I don't believe that a group of ants who are not even demigods can cause waves in front of us. Let everyone be prepared and launch a full-scale attack when the time is right. Gushat, the first-class god of the Protoss, gritted his teeth, thinking to himself, his eyes flickering. At the same time, Fang Fan successfully took advantage of the chaos to get out of the Protoss army. After driving for about half a day, the Protoss city gradually appeared in front of his eyes. On the top of the city, there are several Protoss characters engraved. Tianlin City. 100 meters high. There is a constant stream of traffic at the door. It doesn't seem to be much different from our city. Fang Fan narrowed his eyes and couldn't help but started to mutter to himself. There's still a difference. I can feel the breath of the god stone fragments through the city wall. This is a treasure land of geomantic omen. I don't know how many god stone fragments are piled up here. Boy Fang Fan, this time we are really going to prosper. Divine system of the strongest card supplier in the end times, Doomsday strongest card supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 3647. The one who said this was naturally Bai Biao. At this moment, this guy was walking around excitedly, wishing he could rush directly into the Tianlin city of the Protoss to rob madly. Anyway, looking at it like that, it really looks like that. Fang Fan stroked his chin, and his eyes could not help but flicker. If you go in recklessly, it seems that it is not easy to start. There are not many choices in this area now. Seeing the movement of heads at the gate of Tianlin City, Fang Fan couldn't help rolling his eyes. Now these more than 100 people are making too much noise, all of them are holding sharp knives, and any fool knows that there is something wrong. So Fang Fan turned his gaze, only leaving the ghost, Bai Biao, Chu Sisi, and a few heroes by his side. The rest of the people were taken back to Shushan Pavilion Small World. Since you want to enter the city, you must have an identity. Let's enter the city as a caravan. After entering Tianlin City, everything is easy to talk about. At that time, even if we loot a wave and then hide, it will still be too late. Fang Fan's eyes flickered, and he immediately lit up the carriage, pretending to be delivering goods. Ah! Then what are we selling? There is nothing on us. The people of the Protoss are all rich. Is there something else about us that can attract their attention? This may not be. I think there might be some glitches or something. Bai Biao raised relative doubts, and while talking at the moment, couldn't help but shook his head and said. Just some jewelry or something. And some food or something. Anyway, sell whatever you have. Anyway, it's just a pretext. I used to practice god-level engraving before, but I made a lot of messy cards like jewelry cards. Fang Fan groaned, and then took out those messy cards, put them in front of his eyes, and used them directly. Immediately, a carriage was full of these messy accessories, jewelry, head flowers, crystal clear beads, etc. Other than that, some delicious treats made from food cards. There are all kinds of messy things like egg fried rice and Buddha jumping over the wall. Immediately, he transformed into a merchant again. Brother Fang Fan, are we going in like this? Is this something we should pay attention to? Just getting into it like that, isn't it a bit too rampant? It's not even ready yet. I'm mainly afraid that there will be some problems inside. Guisha couldn't help but swallowed a mouthful of saliva. While talking at the moment, he grinned at his teeth crazily, his hands couldn't help trembling, and his heart couldn't help tightening. There are a lot of thoughts at the moment, and the more I think about it, the more I think. Be calm about everything else. The more restrained you are, the more likely you will go wrong. Just pay attention to one thing, that is, don't talk. There will be problems with your accent, and I will handle everything. You all pretend to be dumb. Walk. Fang Fan nodded, and then began to lead the way ahead. At this moment, he couldn't help showing a smile on his face. It still feels quite exciting. When entering the city, there was nothing difficult. Those city guards didn't take a second look at all. Basically, if you don't do anything, he won't care. After entering the city seemed a little deserted. There are not many vendors on the street. It seems that the Protoss street stall business is really not very good. Fang Fan pushed the carriage aside, glanced around, and considered the next way. What are you? What a beautiful bead. It's still so bright. Can I buy this? Not long after Fang Fan stopped, a Protoss woman stepped forward excitedly. He was wearing slightly fancy clothes and some messy headdresses on his head. Fang Fan found that the Protoss didn't seem to pay much attention to clothes. Men are basically wrapped in black and gray clothes. For women, the clothes on their bodies will not be too gorgeous. I don't know if it's because it's their tradition. After all, there are more or less different places in the traditions of each place. Fang Fan simply wanted to use his identity to get in. As for selling things, he really didn't expect. But since someone asked the price, Fang Fan naturally couldn't ignore it at all. Fang Fan pondered for a while, then stretched out 3 fingers. He wanted to say that 3 star cores are enough for me. Anyway, this thing is not worth much. 3 fragments of the divine stone. Okay. Too cheap. The Protoss woman's eyes lit up, and she said excitedly. Fang Fan. What the hell, did you hear me right? This gaudy thing, can you give a little bit of normal rhythm? This. That's it? Ongoing, interesting. Actually it's not. Fang Fan tried to communicate in Protoss. Do you want to go back on your word? Do you want to increase the price temporarily? No. 3 fragments of the divine stone. It's all for you. You can't go back on your word. Is this bead mine? Ah. This hairpin is also pretty. How much does this cost? The Protoss woman continued to ask. Fang Fan stretched out his hand, then waved it, thinking to tell this Protoss woman to stop talking. 5 divine stone fragments. Oh. It's really not expensive. The things here are really common people. Boss. You are really kind. I'll look at other things. I want this necklace too. Is it okay to have 8 god stone fragments? Boss, if you don't say anything, I will take it as your acquiescence. Hey. This ring is not bad either. The ruby one, it's really beautiful. The 10 god stone fragments. And this. The Protoss woman completely let go. Pointing excitedly at this moment, while speaking, his complexion gradually turned red. Anyway, let it go, it seems to be more and more excited. In the moment of thought, the whole person drifted away. Gradually follow the sensation to the extreme, the excitement is boundless. Whom can I tell this feeling? A wave of feelings, fully crushed to the extreme. Fang Fan stood where he was, already numb. Did he meet the prodigal daughters of the Protoss just after he entered the city? Is this a way to send out the fragments of his own godstone? If anyone marries such a prodigal woman, it will be bloody bad luck. A lot of godstone fragments have been scattered all over the place. The Protoss woman finally picked out a lot of shiny gem necklaces and went back, leaving behind hundreds of godstone fragments. This is so proud. A fragment of the divine stone is worth 10,000 high-grade star cores. Hundreds of godstone fragments are millions of high-grade star cores. Divine system of the strongest card supplier in the end times, Doomsday strongest card supplier. Author, Shuyu. Chapter 3648. Fang Fan thought that the soldiers and officers of the Protoss were already rich enough. Now it seems that he was indeed careless. Among the Protoss, these women are the ones who are truly heroic. It is necessary to send fragments of the sacred stone, as if the fragments of the sacred stone are crooked broken stones. I cannot agree with this view of consumption. Fang Fan and the others fought bloody battles under the god city of the Seven Courts for so long before, and even killed a weak demigod strongman of the Protoss. The fragments of the god stone they captured were only more than 1,000 pieces, and then they were promoted to an 8-star peak sanctuary realm Blood Shuro Legion to low-level Saint Venerable realm. These are all vivid, as if they are still flashing in front of their eyes. There are a lot of thoughts this time. The more I think about it, the more my brain floods. Cao. This. Are all Protoss women so bold? If it's all like this, grab a Hammer's warehouse. It would be better to do business with them directly. This. It's really unbearable. It's so exciting. And this good thing. Followed directly. Bai Piao nodded excitedly, and as he spoke, the sharp look in his eyes became more and more. Now he licked his lips, his eyes couldn't help flickering, and his whole person became smug. Needless to say about other things for the time being, this time the posture is in place, and everything is very real. This wave directly followed the full takeoff. Burst. Burst. As long as the fragments of the divine stone are in place, Bai Piao can do whatever he wants. Maybe it just happened to meet a Protoss woman who is not very bright. How can there be such a good thing all the time? Don't overthink it. Fang Fan shook his head, then said softly. But it is obvious that this wave is indeed Fang Fan's carelessness. As soon as he finished speaking, several Protoss young women and girls came. At this moment, they stared at the exquisite decorations on the carriage and were a little dazed for a while. What a beautiful necklace! This headdress is also pretty. How did this dress be made? It's so delicate. My God, the more you look at it, the more unusual it becomes. Interesting, really interesting. I want this. How much is it, boss? I want this. The next business is still very good. Although these people are not as heroic as the first Protoss woman, they still look quite invincible when they put their postures there. At this moment, there are more and more fragments of the divine stone in Fang Fan's hands. It's about to break 1,000. Fang Fan could clearly feel a lot of prying eyes around him. So when all the accessories and clothes on the carriage were sold out, they evacuated directly. I didn't expect these ordinary things without aura to be so favored by the gods. This is too ridiculous. What do they want these things for? Is it purely to look good? I really can't figure it out. This is not as real as a star core. They are actually willing to spend tens of thousands of high-grade star cores to buy. The thoughts of these Protoss people are really difficult to see clearly. It's a mess. It's a mess. Anyway, it looks amazing. Zhuoqiuyao kept shaking his head, and while talking at the moment, the gleam in his eyes gradually increased. The more you think about it, the more you think about it. Why? Fang Fan boy, you said that your boy is also. Why are you in such a hurry? If you take out a cart full of accessories and clothes to sell, it will be another income from thousands of pieces of divine stones. Why don't you understand? Such a good opportunity, just missed it. If you miss this car, you won't have this store. Bai Piao gritted her teeth, feeling regretful at this moment. Thousands of thoughts, trembling eyes. Anyway, all kinds of thoughts in my heart also became chaotic. Don't be blinded by these god stone fragments. After all, we are not real Protoss people. Anyone who shows his feet will be hunted down by the whole city. Just now our business was too prosperous, and many people directly stared at us. If if you continue to delay, someone will come and make trouble. If it comes to that time, if you want to do something, it will not be so easy. We came to Tianlin city of the Protoss to inquire about information and search for the warehouse. We're going to be as low-key as possible. Don't accidentally turn yourself into a big businessman. The corner of Fang Fan's mouth twitched, and he sighed silently. Deliberately plant flowers and flowers will not bloom, unintentionally plant willows and willows to make shade. Are you a merchant who sells beautiful jewelry and necklaces? My wife, please. I hope you can bring the best jewelry and necklace, our wife will definitely give you a satisfactory price. On the side, a maid came over, her demeanor was quite dignified, and she could tell that she came from a rich family. Fang Fan's heart sank secretly. What the hell is this? Is this businessman really famous? Then the next thing will be a little difficult. Fang Fan deliberately refused. Our wife is the 17th lady whom the city lord loves the most. As long as you serve our wife well, your benefits will be indispensable. The maid continued to seduce. Lady 17. Does it make it to that number? The city lord of Tianlin city will really enjoy it? This little day suddenly became ecstatic. The city lord's mansion. Hearing this, Fang Fan had some new ideas at the same time. The purpose of this trip is the warehouse. Regardless of whether it is the warehouse of the entire Tianlin city or the warehouse of the city lord's mansion, as long as there are enough pieces of the sacred stone inside, there will be no problem. Looting a wave of warehouses in Tianlin city, on the one hand, can strengthen Fang Fan himself, and help him advance to the ranks of the major legions. On the other hand, it can actually cause a certain degree of damage to Tianlin city. In this way, the army of Tianlin city will naturally be more aggressive. This can be regarded as a curve to save the country. Okay, no problem, let's lead the way. Fang Fan nodded, already having an idea in his mind. All the way into the city lord's mansion. Because of the guidance of that maid, there is no trouble. After entering the city lord's mansion, Fang Fan actually heard some roars from practitioners of the light camp. At this moment, as captives, they are suffering from inhuman abuse. Ah, kill me. Kill me. You know what it is to torture labor and capital. Get out. Get out. Give me a good time, I really can't take it anymore, my heart is bleeding. Damn it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 3649. The roars of those cultivators wearing the uniforms of the Temple of the Alliance of Light became more and more miserable. At the moment, they are being placed in a fully closed schoolyard. In the school grounds, they were used to feed those beasts. In order to survive, they naturally can only fight to the end with those wild beasts. In addition, there are many Protoss on it with bows and arrows, and they shot arrows into it jokingly. Here, there is no normal person. One by one, all went crazy. There has never been any kindness in the battle between two ethnic groups and two camps. The kindness to the enemy is the greatest cruelty to oneself. My family, its heart must be different. If the Protoss god of war is really allowed to control the alliance of major forces, then many forces including the Temple of the Alliance of Light will be completely slaughtered. At that time, the entire Temple of the Light Alliance of the Guangming Academy will become a hunting ground for those Protoss. The so-called human nature naturally does not exist here. There may be some innocent people among the Protoss, but when the war between the two races breaks out, innocence is the original sin. Fang Fan narrowed his eyes, full of thoughts. This time the assumption was in place, and the whole person became smug. Many thoughts gathered in his mind, as if he wanted to completely crush everything in front of him into ashes. All kinds of thinking are displayed in place, and everything is frantically tossing like having fun. After tossing and tossing, it is also the most authentic appearance. The corners of Fang Fan's mouth raised slightly, and various thoughts in his mind gradually increased. Interesting, really interesting. According to this model, all-round development, all-round evolution, let alone tell who. Soon, Fang Fan was brought in front of the 17th lady of the city lord. Fang Fan raised his head and glanced, and had to say, it was really amazing. Fende rushes towards the face, with a clear fragrance. The bones seem to be crispy, giving people an endless stimulation of consciousness. Are you the wonderful jewelry dealer Lisa spoke of? I heard that in your hands, there are a lot of beautiful jewelry and headgear. Take it out quickly. The 17th lady of the city lord, Kathy, licked her lips, her beautiful eyes filled with endless anticipation. Of course, a beautiful lady should have the most beautiful accessories. These are my most precious accessories here. Please accept the beautiful lady. Fang Fan still has a way of pretending. Invisibly, you can fool in place. You guys are quite good at talking. Cluck. But, I don't have many godstone fragments for you. Kathy smiled unrestrainedly, gradually, with a sense of oppression. Fang Fan's eyes scanned the surrounding area, and his eyes gradually became sinking. There are quite a few guards around here. It seems that this woman wants to cheat on others. That's it? Returned the 17th wife of the city owner. WTF. If you can't afford it, don't pretend, okay? It's so embarrassing, isn't it? Fang Fan shook his head, he was too lazy to say anything at the moment. However, people under the eaves naturally need to live in an all-round way. Especially at times like this, you must not make waves, one wave will destroy everything. These are what I dedicated to the most beautiful and noble women. How could it be possible to collect those vulgar godstone fragments? If ma'am insists on hitting me with such a vulgar thing, I will feel very disappointed. If a gorgeous and noble existence like madam can wear these accessories and clothes, the world will probably lose its color. This is the best destination for those exquisite accessories and clothes. Flattery or something, Fang Fan is definitely at the level of a patriarch. In order to prevent accidents, Fang Fan only brought Bai Biao in when entering the city lord's mansion this time, and asked Bai Biao to dress up as a deaf mute. Bai Biao couldn't understand Fang Fan's Protoss language anyway, but he could probably guess what Fang Fan said from the way the city lord's wife on the opposite side was trembling with laughter. The corner of Bai Biao's mouth twitched, and then he couldn't help but rolled his eyes. This guy is really the nemesis of women. Hey, now even the Protoss women are stupefied by this kid. This practice is indeed a bit deep. I've been studying with this kid for so long, it's useless at all. In the end, it's still like this. Collapsed, mentality collapsed. Why do I feel that this momentum is developing incorrectly? Kid Fang Fan still wants to hunt for beauty in the city lord's mansion. Good on. Stimulation is indeed exciting, but the occasion is not right. If something happens, the whole line will collapse. At that time, who can stand it? This is the woman of the Protoss Tianlin city lord, has she worn a cuckold to this extent? Cao. Anyway, Bai Biao couldn't understand the language of the Protoss, and now his eyeballs were trembling all the time, and then he was thinking wildly in his head. The more he thought about it, the more excited he became, and the more he thought about it, the more his brain trembled. Gradually, my thoughts were flying, my thoughts were full of thoughts, and I didn't know what to say. Many words, completely silent on the spot. The cool moonlight is being fully practiced to the end. After all, isn't that the case? Just don't be too real. At this moment, Kathy, the 17th lady of the city lord, who was in the silk red tent, heard Fang Fan's words, her eyes twitched slightly. Who doesn't like to hear sweet words? Especially women, basically have no resistance to these sweet words. At this moment, her lips are trembling, her eyes are gradually fluttering, her thoughts are full of thoughts, and her expression is unpredictable. This time the mentality is gathering, and there is an inexplicable sense of dry mouth and tongue. I don't seem to know what to say right now. Chaos, to the extreme chaos. You are a clever person. But with your words, I can kill you. Even the city lord's woman, do you dare to flirt with her? If Lord City Master finds out, he will definitely tear you apart. In the silk red tent, Kathy's figure appears and disappears from time to time, giving people infinite associations. The sound gradually penetrates into the bones, which is refreshing. If Madam wants to do this, she won't tell me. I just express the truest psychology of a man. If even this lady is to be blamed, then I can't help it. In the final analysis, the one who is guilty is actually Madam. After all, Madam's infinite charm is the original sin. Fang Fan shrugged, and then spoke out confidently. Fang Fan didn't know what happened today, he said one after another without feeling ashamed at all. For a moment, Fang Fan's brain burst. Divine system of the strongest card supplier in the end times, Doomsday strongest card supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 3650. If this trend continues, there is a high probability that it will enter a certain extreme state. Either take off directly, or fall in a straight line. It's good to have a plan for this kind of thing. There must be no carelessness. Hold on tight and take control. You all go down. I want to have a good talk with him about jewelry. In the silky red tent, Kathy spoke silently. Immediately, the maids in the room began to retreat one after another, and the guards outside also left. Before the maid left, she had to drag Bai Biao away. Bai Biao's heart trembled, and she was staring at Fang Fan at this moment. He wants to know what happened. I hummed up. You can't just be so confused all the time. I'm so panic. Bai Biao has a sad face, she doesn't want to leave now. He has a very bad premonition. At this moment, the corners of his mouth twitched wildly, and his eyes became drifting. Fang Fan sent Bai Biao a reassuring look, telling him not to worry about it. Bai Biao was crying, and now he didn't dare to transmit the sound directly, and his heart was extremely anxious. You guy, can you still play like this? There's a lot of bells and whistles. Never follow this kid next time. This kid cared about his own happiness, and then kicked me away. Hey, I'm too difficult. If I had known this earlier, I might as well get into the small world with a hammer. This kid is probably the wife of the city lord. Oh shit. Gosh, you're so daring. Are you really not afraid of being beaten to death by the lord of Tianlin City? Too crazy. Why? There's a knife on Caesar's head. Fang Fan still can't figure it out. I can't understand it now, and you will regret it later. Just play, just keep playing. I still don't know what it will look like by then. Beauty and gaudy waves? Go ahead and do. The mumbling voice followed, and the gnashing of teeth was fully displayed. Of course there is no need to say more about the other ones. This time the posture is in place and gradually becomes sincere. That's exactly what happened. At the moment, only Mrs. Kathy and Fang Fan are alone in the room. Mrs. Kathy opened the red curtain, and a slim figure appeared in front of Fang Fan. Fang Fan had to admit that this was indeed a beauty. His eyes swept over, and the whole person became smug. Thinking a lot at this moment, his expression gradually became complicated and real. Want to say something? Many words followed by complete silence. Why don't you talk? Isn't it pretty good to say just now? You're not a decent person, are you? The corners of Mrs. Kathy's mouth raised slightly, and she suddenly said this. Fang Fan. I can't answer your words. Good guy, just mess around like this, gimmicky. The mentality completely collapsed for a while. My brain is buzzing. A myriad of thoughts, speechless. Can you ask me this casually? This. If Madam thinks I'm a decent person, I'm a decent person. If Madam thinks I'm not a decent person, then I'm not a decent person. Fang Fan kicked the ball back directly. If you want to trick him in this matter, I'm afraid it's still a bit difficult. Fang Fan never took the bait at all. Shrugging silently, with a face of indifference, that's all. Ah. You are not from Tianlin City. Who are you? Are you looking for death? Are you a spy from Disha City? Or from Huangji City? Explain. If you don't tell me, I'll kill you. A cold voice came, and then Mrs. Kathy seemed to change her face in an instant, and her expression suddenly became extremely fierce. Fang Fan's heart froze secretly. The situation is not right. The situation is about to collapse. He doesn't know what kind of Huangji City Disha City is. Probably the opponent of Tianlin City among the Protoss. Nowadays, Fang Fan's identity cannot be revealed at all. A little bit of disclosure can cause problems. Right now, I have a lot of thoughts and complex expressions. How to deal with it, there is no specific charter. It seemed a bit awkward for a while. This Mrs. Kathy does not meet the criteria of big breasts and no brains. Now is the moment of death. At this moment, Fang Fan can of course drill directly into the small world of Shushan Pavilion, but I'm afraid he can't bring Bai Piao with him. If this happens, Bai Piao may be beaten to death at that time. This time I am really in trouble. Fang Fan wriggled his lips, let out a breath of foul air, his mind was full of thoughts, and wrinkles gathered on his forehead. Die before leaving school? Nothing has been done yet. Why don't we completely conquer it here? Forehead. It seems a bit difficult. Although the surrounding guards have withdrawn. But I'm just a rookie in the 5-star Peak Sanctuary, not this woman's match. This woman looks lazy, but her cultivation, at least above the Saint Venerable realm. This time, I can't see through it at all. Send out the golden armored puppet. When the aura of the quasi-demigod level golden armored puppet is exposed, the city lord's mansion will be completely in turmoil. That's when things really get really big. Fang Fan gritted his teeth, his head hurt a little. There's a lot of bells and whistles. I was thinking of taking advantage of this opportunity to sneak into the city lord's mansion and seize the warehouse. Unexpectedly, in front of the lady of the city lord, she had already revealed her secrets. Fang Fan quickly started brainstorming, and now he has to come up with a way to deal with it. If you are ignorant, you can't solve any problems, and it will only increase the speed of problem resolution. This wave is indeed a bit difficult. The position of Fang Fan's jaw was twitching all the time, and the complicated expressions on his face became more and more complicated. This wave exploded in all directions. Let's talk about a hammer, it's nothing. Is that why Madam wants to know my identity? Madam, aren't you afraid that after knowing my identity, I will turn around and kill you? Fang Fan narrowed his eyes, a wicked smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and then his eyes were piercing. Killed me? Depending on you. Are you sure? The corners of Kathy's mouth raised slightly, and then she casually revealed a little cultivation. Demigod. Still a weak demigod. Fang Fan raised his eyebrows, and his complexion changed at this moment. What the hell is this, a big boss? Is this Protoss really a demigod gone? Any city lord's wife is like this. Can it still work? Fang Fan's face was numb, and his eyes were extremely constricted at this moment. Now, can I talk? Maybe, we still have the possibility of cooperation. I think your cultivation base is only in the ordinary sanctuary realm. It must have been some special method of restraining interest.